So, Louisa, do you ever, when someone asks you, how's your business, say, oh, I'm busy?
I'm all the time. Like I'm the sort of person that always says, "Oh, I'm so busy." And then I kind of go, "But am I? Like what am I
But am
meaning
I?
by that word?"
But I think this is, I think we are programmed, we are taught to think that busy is good, right? And busy
Yeah.
isn't always effective. Sometimes, uh, I mean, we talk about the need for stillness and quiet and reflection and relaxation quite a lot, but I also think that sometimes we can make progress by not just pushing stuff through, right? Like both you and I spend the best part of the last year sort of dialing back our business a lot because we became increasingly aware that what we were doing wasn't really feeling
Yeah.
that comfortable anymore. And the only way to then move forward again was to first, you know, bring it right back. And so for a little while, neither one of us was really busy, um,
Yeah.
and that was quite scary. But sometimes there is something much more productive in that quietness, in that not doing jobs that you don't want to be doing because it creates the space for you to then develop a new direction or new services that actually this is what um what moves it forward again. I think we can stagnate in busy just because busy is distracting and busy feels good, right?
Yeah.
Busy feels like we're doing something important.
Interestingly, I was talking about this with someone very recently. So I was always a multitasker. And and that was how I got known for an organization I worked with. And I was always busy, but I was busy in a way that I didn't see it was people stepping over so many boundaries that I never really set. And that made me even busier. So I was talking to this person about the fact that I never took my lunch break. You try to have about an hour for lunch, maybe half an hour to an hour for lunch as a standard thing. Even as working for yourself, it's good to have that block of time to step away. But what I would do is I'd get just before lunch, someone would come and ask me to do something. And I go, yep, gonna do that. And so I'd work over my lunch. Someone would go out and get me lunch when they went out for their lunch, and I would work. And then the person would come back in the afternoon and then get that piece of work. What I never saw was they would take their lunch. They wanted to do something in the afternoon, but they wanted me to do the work in order for them to have it when they wanted it. But the problem is that they would then abuse that time that I had put aside for me, and I never noticed. So I would always do that. And for me, I was always busy with those sorts of things, or I'd be late home, and it just became a frame of mind that that was good. And I
Mm-hmm.
never saw how damaging and problematic that was. I mean, they thought it was great. They'd get all this work, they'd get all their updates done, whilst they were sitting relaxing, having their lunch, and I was sitting there working. But I just never thought about the damage that that could do. And I think clients tend to demand, and we sometimes over overexhaust ourselves with that busyness.
Well, I think, and this is maybe a pitfall for you and me specifically, but we tend to be quite generous with our time and our
Mm.
skills. And so and I think as business owners, generally we want to do a good job. That's one of the motivations that we often have is that we want to deliver this work and we want to do it well and we want it to benefit people. um but you're absolutely right, like we have to have those boundaries. I always say like that when I first started working for myself is when I realized that nobody works an 8-hour workday.
Mm.
Nobody works for 8 hours straight. That is not a thing that people do or can do. No,
It
but
it
no,
wasn't good, like it was not healthy in any means, but yeah.
no, but like I honestly, like I would, because and when I first started as well, I would work. but by time, so I'd be paid for the time I spent on stuff. And so I would pause every time I would, get up to use the toilet or to go and make myself a cup of tea. That's not realistic.
Mm.
To then take that as, oh, I can't bill my client for the 2 minutes it's going to take me to make a cup of tea, right? Like, whereas, and that's ludicrous. That is absolutely ludicrous. But that's when you realize like uh, how many of these little micro breaks you take anyway.
Mm.
And that is without say, like, yes, take your lunch break and all of those things. But it's not just. I think it isn't just about boundaries. It's definitely about boundaries. And I think we can push back to clients a little bit because sometimes I think we also need them to understand that they have to plan they have to plan also. Like they can't expect us to have a 2 hour turnaround on a 2 hour job,
Yeah.
right? Like that's unrealistic expectations, and that we need to be able to communicate that. And I also feel like we need to learn how to push back on that a little bit. That is definitely something that comes with experience. But I think that we are so accustomed to, if we seem busy, then that must mean we are working. But it's
Mm.
not. I think when you're a business owner, you really need to take that step back and think, what is actually going to make a difference? What is going to move the work forward? What is going to move the business forward?
Mm.
And sometimes that isn't the nice, busy work. Sometimes that is stepping back, saying no, taking time out. I remember you saying earlier this summer when you were describing all the things that you had planned, and someone said, "And when are you going to take some time off?"
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I know. But
And did you?
I think also we tend to loop around a little bit on some stuff. So you feel like you're going forward, but you're not really. Like I had this problem quite often where I would be doing a lot of stuff, but I wasn't really moving forward. I was in a loop. And then sort of after a week of feeling like I was busy, I hadn't moved the business forward at all. And I was like, what the hell happened? What did I do? Like sometimes you don't see that you're in this loop of and sometimes that comes down to planning. Um, and some of the priorities got lost amongst the noise.
Yeah, I think prioritizing is definitely one of them, because I think also sometimes we push jobs forward because we don't really like doing them, but
Mm,
those are sometimes the jobs that will move the needle the most.
yeah.
But they also sometimes are very uncomfortable. So
And people listening might not know that I love a good rabbit hole, and I could go down a rabbit hole for a good day or two, and then sort of come back and go,
yes.
"Hello, where am
What
I?"
happened? What is
And that
today?
and rabbit
Is it
holes are
still
busy.
Monday?
They're busy places. They're
Hmm.
your brain is supercharged to be curious and investigate, but it's not necessarily a positive thing. Like I like to be curious, but I know Tony and Mags pull me out of rabbit holes these days because I could spend a bit too much time down there and not make progress that, it's fun. I enjoy it, but it's not necessarily a great place to be when I want to progress and I feel like I'm doing lots of stuff and being busy, but actually, there's not a lot going on.
You're just treading water rather than swimming.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I mean that could be, you want to learn and sometimes those rabbit holes are places to learn and it can be sort of it can be good time spent in certain circumstances, but sometimes or if you do it too often, which I think I was for a while there, um progress wasn't being made and that's where you sort of setting goals, so your 90-day goals, short-term goals, long-term goals. And it's like I wasn't hitting those goals because I was spending so much time looking at things and, sort of jumping down those lovely rabbit holes and then not realizing that I was missing those deadlines that, I self set.
Yeah, and I think then sometimes also it gets you wondering, because you're like, I've been busy all week. why has nothing moved?
Yeah.
Right? Because I do that sometimes. I'm like, I've been at my computer like for days. How is nothing moved forward? Why is this new project I'm designing still not done? And and a lot of that has to do with, well, I've been doing busy work. I've been doing things that were fun or that were easier, or but they weren't the actual things that would create the most progress. And I think there's definitely, just culturally as well, we are uh, we are pushed towards being busy is a good thing, rather than being effective, being efficient is a good thing.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I feel like, maybe things like the 80/20 rule might help people who feel like they end up being so busy. So you've got the 80/20 rule where, 80% of your time should be there to progress your business and move it forward. And, maybe only 20% could be that busy time, the time that you are um down rabbit holes, as I say, or doing something else. But you really want to spend your time in that productivity zone. And, if you do get a bit busy and you kind of think, what did I do? It's okay. Like, we all go through that. But I think it's getting yourself back on track that's the important bit.